My name is Rosa. I am 62 years old. I live in a small house that used to feel full. Most mornings I wake up before the sun, not because I need to. I'm retired now. There's nowhere urgent to be. But my body still wakes the way it did for decades, early, alert, ready to take care of someone else. For a few seconds after I open my eyes, I forget. I forget that the house is quiet. I forget that there's no one sleeping in the room down the hall. I forget that my phone hasn't rung for my son in years. Those few seconds are the kindest part of my day. Then I remember, and the quiet settles back in. I lie in bed and listen to the sounds of the house. The refrigerator hums. The clock on the wall ticks steadily, like it's measuring something important, time maybe, or distance. I reach for my phone. I don't even think about it anymore. My hand just knows where it is. No messages, no missed calls. I tell myself I should stop checking. At 62 years old, I should know better than to hope like this. But hope doesn't age. It doesn't get tired, and it doesn't listen when you tell it to stop. I wasn't always alone. I became a mother at 29, later than most women in my family. I remember thinking I had plenty of time, that I'd built a stable life first, a marriage, a home, a routine. When they placed my son in my arms for the first time, the room felt unreal, too bright, too quiet, too important. He was small, smaller than I expected. His skin was warm and his fingers curled around mine without effort, like it was instinct. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the part of life that actually matters. No one tells you how frightening that thought is, because the moment you love someone that deeply, you're also terrified of failing them. When he was little, he followed me everywhere. I couldn't walk from one room to another without hearing his footsteps behind me. He talked constantly about school, about things he imagined, about questions that didn't have answers. Mom, why does the moon follow us? Mom, where do thoughts go when we forget them? Mom, can you die from being sad? I laughed a lot back then. I didn't know how heavy some of those questions would feel later. I wasn't a perfect mother. I cooked dinner most nights, but sometimes it was rushed. I listened to his stories, but sometimes my mind wandered. I worked part-time jobs, worried about money, worried about the future. I thought being responsible was the same thing as being present. Sometimes I said, not right now. Sometimes I said later. Sometimes I said, I'm tired. I didn't realize how permanent those moments could feel to a child. His father and I divorced when he was 12. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no cheating, just two people who stopped understanding each other and stayed too long anyway. I thought we handled it well. I told my son it wasn't his fault, that both parents still loved him, that nothing important would change. But something did change. He became quieter. He spent more time in his room, more time outside the house, less time talking to me. I told myself it was normal. Everyone said it was normal. Teenagers pull away. They need space. They're figuring out who they are. So I let him. I didn't know there was a difference between giving space and slowly disappearing. The arguments didn't start big. They started small. Curfews, grades, friends I didn't trust. I wanted him to be safe. He wanted me to stop worrying. I raised my voice more than I should have. He shut down more than I expected. Sometimes he looked at me like he was already gone. I didn't recognize that look at the time. The last argument is burned into my memory, but not in a dramatic way. That's the strange part. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet. He told me I didn't listen. I told him I did. He said I only heard what I wanted to hear. I said things I wish I could take back, not cruel things, but careless ones. Words said in defense instead of understanding. He packed a bag that night, not everything, just enough. I stood in the hallway and watched him. I wanted to stop him. I wanted to say something that would change everything, but I didn't know what that sentence was. He stood at the door for a moment. I thought he might turn around. He didn't. The door closed softly. I didn't know that sound would echo for years. At first, I was sure he'd be back. I told myself he just needed time, space, independence. I didn't call the first day or the second. I didn't want to seem controlling. I wanted to respect him. By the third day, I sent a message. Just checking in, are you okay? It showed delivered. No reply. Weeks passed. I sent another message, then another. I tried not to sound desperate. I tried to sound calm, normal, understanding. I love you. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you need anything. Sometimes the messages were read, sometimes they weren't. None were answered. People don't talk about how painful that kind of silence is. Not silence from a stranger, not silence from a friend. Silence from your child. It makes you question your entire life. I replayed every memory, looking for the moment where I ruined everything. Was it the divorce? Was it the rules? Was it the times I chose work or exhaustion over listening? I wanted a clear mistake, something obvious, something I could fix. But life doesn't work that way. I kept his room exactly the same. People noticed. They told me it wasn't healthy. But that room was proof that he had lived here, that I hadn't imagined it all. The bed stayed made, the posters stayed on the walls, his clothes stayed folded. Sometimes I'd stand in the doorway and just look, not touching anything, just remembering. Cleaning the room felt like erasing him. Leaving it untouched felt like waiting. So I waited. Holidays were the worst. The first birthday he missed, I baked a cake. I told myself it was silly, but I couldn't stop. I sang quietly, just once. The cake got stale. By the second birthday, I didn't sing, but I still baked. By the third, I stopped baking, but I still marked the day. Grief doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. Friends tried to help. He'll come back. You did your best. You can't blame yourself. They meant well, but they didn't wake up every morning wondering if their child was alive, if he was safe, if he remembered them at all. I stopped talking about it after a while. It made people uncomfortable. They didn't know what to say. So I carried it quietly. Years passed. Life kept moving even though mine felt paused. I learned how to function, to smile, to go through the motions. But every time my phone rang, my heart jumped. Every time it wasn't him, it sank again. Sometimes I imagine him walking through the door, not dramatically, just casually, like he never left. I imagine saying his name. I imagine touching his face to make sure he's real. I imagine not asking questions. I imagine just holding him. I don't feel angry anymore. Anger burns fast. What stays is heavier. It's love with nowhere to go. If you're watching this, my son, and I don't know if you ever will, I want you to hear this. I never stopped loving you. I know I wasn't perfect. I know I failed you in ways I probably don't even understand, but I loved you with everything I had. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking you to explain. I just want you to know that there is still a place in this world where you belong, a place where your name is spoken softly, where the light is left on, where your mother is still waiting. And every morning I wake up hoping today is the day. I am still waiting for my son.